This video was made possible by EA Game Changers. Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and today it's finally time to talk about Battlefield V Firestorm, which, if you haven't already heard by now, is the brand new Battle Royale mode that's coming to the game in just a few days on March 25th. Now, some of you might already know that last week the guys at EA were nice enough to fly me out to an event at DICE in Stockholm, and so I've actually already played it. And so today I want to share with you guys some of my opinions on this mode and show you some of the gameplay I captured. And most importantly, we're going to try and answer the question, is it actually any good? Alright, so to kick off, the first thing you guys need to know about Firestorm is that it's a lot more than just another game mode. I mean, it is part of the base game, so you won't have to spend any more money if you already own BF5, but the thing is, it's actually made by a completely different studio. It's been developed by Criterion Games in the UK, who are probably best known for their work on the Need for Speed franchise and on Battlefront 2. But the main thing you guys need to know is that a whole new studio means a whole lot more time to focus on getting things right and a whole new direction from what we've already seen from DICE. What I mean by this is Firestorm is full of subtle differences, the main not so subtle one being that it's set on the gigantic Halvoy map. And by gigantic, I mean it's apparently more than 10 times bigger than Hamada, which is already currently the biggest map in the game at the moment, and one of the biggest ones we've seen in the franchise to this date. One of the coolest new things about Halvoy, though, that we've never seen in the franchise before, is that it's actually so big that it's got a mix of different biomes. And so it's not just a woodland map, or a snow map, or a coastal map with lots of water. It's actually all three of those things at the same time. Now, what I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably wondering about is whether or not the pacing on such a big map is going to be too slow, especially considering the player cap is still only 64. And I mean, that's a tricky question to answer, but the first thing I really should make clear is that you got to remember Firestorm is a BR, so the pacing isn't going to be like regular Battlefield modes. Also, another thing you've got to remember is that Battlefield games are about more than just infantry, and so unlike some other popular BR titles, you are going to be able to drive vehicles in this one. And so for me, sure, it did feel a bit like a running simulator for the first few games, but once we all figured out that there were vehicles there to use, the pacing did get a lot quicker. The best thing about BR modes, though, is whether or not the map is big or not, there's always mechanics built in to eventually bring the players together. And the obvious one in Firestorm is the Ring of Fire itself, which is already on the map before the game starts, and it moves pretty quickly until the round is over. Also, another thing worth mentioning is that the ring doesn't actually encompass the full map. There's actually 3 different preset zones at the moment where it can spawn. And so what that means is that you're never actually going to be fighting over the whole map, which tightens up the pacing a lot to apparently a max of about 20 minutes per game. Now, obviously another big part of any BR game that brings players together is the loot, and well, don't worry, there's plenty of stuff that spawns around the map for players to find. For example, you can find basic weapons on the ground in just about every building, but you can also find rarer upgraded weapons and other gear in crates and safes as well. If you do want to get really serious and get some of the rarest gear though, well, you can choose to capture resupply objectives, which can be pretty risky, because you can bet that other players will have the same idea as well, and so you'll have to weigh up whether getting that gear is worth the gunfight that you're bound to get into when you go for it. The same thing also applies to vehicles, with the basic ones just sitting around out in the open, and the rarer ones may be locked away in a bunker, for example. And just on that note, one of the other cool new things about Firestorm is that there's a bunch of new vehicles to play with, like the helicopter, the Schwimmwagen, and of course, the tractor. Now, one of the things I know a lot of people were worried about was that maybe vehicles would be a little bit too powerful in a BR mode, but as it turns out, that's not really the case at all. Because obviously BR is all about survival, and well, one of the best ways to do that is to stay hidden, and you can bet that if you get into a vehicle, well, players are going to know exactly where you are, and they're probably going to come and try and hunt you down. Now, just before we finish up, I just want to run through a few things that you're going to want to know if you are a veteran of the base game. And the main one is that considering this is a permadeath mode, to extend your life, unlike in regular BF5, you can pick up armor plates around the map, which extend your health by about another 50%. What that means, as you'll see in this gameplay, is that players can sponge a lot more bullets than usual, and for example, guns like the bolt actions won't be able to get a guaranteed one-hit kill anymore. And not just that, but when you do get killed, you actually don't die straight away. You get down first, and you can even keep on firing with a sidearm while you wait for a squad mate to revive you. Also, speaking of sidearms, well, unlike in the base game, another interesting thing about Firestorm is that you can actually have more than one primary weapon equipped, as well as a sidearm at the same time. And that's because this mode features a basic but still reasonably functional inventory system, which allows you to collect and share loot with other players. And lastly, it's really important to mention that because of this, there's no classes in Firestorm, and what you'll actually do is create your own class from the weapons and gear that you find around the map. And so what that means is just about every weapon and gadget in the game is able to be found around the map, as well as some new ones that aren't available in the base game. But anyway, to finish up, all in all, as you can see, there's obviously a ton of new stuff to see and do in Firestorm, but the real question is it actually any good? And honestly, I really think it is, because firstly, it's a Battlefield Battle Royale, and I'm obviously a Battlefield fan, but secondly, it's a completely new approach to this genre. Is it going to bring new players into the franchise? Well, I think that's definitely a yes, and in fact, I think it's probably different enough to carve out its own unique space in the BR genre. But the bigger question, I think, and probably the most important one for you guys, I'm guessing, is it going to satisfy the veteran Battlefield players? And I think time will have to tell on this one, because as good as it may be, at the end of the day, it is very different. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think about Battlefield V Firestorm in the comment section down below. And also, let me know what new feature you're most excited for. Is it the helicopter? Is it the Schwimmwagen? Let me know what you think down below. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also, don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.